4 more Power 5 matchups and a showdown between JMU and Troy. Let's preview week 3 of the Sun Belt. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Quick thanks. I think we set a record for audio downloads. Get your Locked On Sun Belt podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts. I believe that Apple and Spotify are the 2 most popular. So thank you so much. Yesterday's was a record audio downloads. Outstanding. All right, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so we have one big Sun Belt showdown, Troy and JMU, sort of a championship ball game, if you will, that didn't get a chance to be played last year. And we have some actually good group of 5 matchups as well. Southern Miss hosting Tulane among them. We do have 4 Power 5 matchups, and let's get one right out of the way. Sorry, ULM. You're going against A&M. I like ULM. I despise A&M, but they're going to take their frustration out on you. 36.5 points. I tried to love me some Southern Miss. That didn't work against Florida State, so I think A&M is going to take that one down. Please be safe. Please stay healthy, but I'm not sure ULM has much of a chance in that one. One of those, it is what it is. All right. Meanwhile, though, we do have 3 other ones that I think any one of them could be an upset. I do. We'll start off with South Alabama taking on Oklahoma State. Not great news for South Alabama this past week. Devin Voisin is out for the week. It could be worse. Wide receiver. Haven't seen if it's official yet, but hearing it's not great. And Braylon McReynolds, we know the running back is basically out for the season. But Oklahoma State's playing with this odd 3-quarterback rotation. And so if they had a set guy, if they weren't playing as ugly as the Jaguars are, then I would not be as confident. Am I saying that right? If they were, I'd be more confident in Oklahoma State if they weren't so haphazard, I guess, is what you would say. Maybe South Alabama snapped out of it in the second half against Southeastern, right? They went into halftime, it was 7-7 against Southeastern. 7-7. They did beat them 35-17. So maybe some reserves got some playing time in the fourth quarter. They need, it's great that you have this guy, Carter Bradley, who's got this great arm who can, zip it on a zip line, on a rope line, if you will, and, buzz it for 15 yards. Or buzz it for 30 yards. But somewhere along the way you do need, or 50 yards, right? He can wing it 75, 80 yards. You can't throw at the same pace, 20 yards that you do 8, 30 yards that you do 10. Needs to find that touch. I think LaDainian Webb's going to get more playing time, more carries. If Oklahoma State's not careful, they're going to lose this football game. I'm going to take South Alabama to cover. We'll leave it there. All right. I'm hoping they can win the football game. We'll take it to cover. Now, Wake Forest is going into ODU, and all I've heard is that this is not a great matchup for ODU, right? They struggled against Virginia Tech, looked pretty good offensively, at least against the Cajuns, but it's not as though Wake Forest has dominated. They scored a lot of points. They put up 37 against Elon, all right, 37-17. They did shut them out in the first half of that ball game. They did, have a 24-14 lead over Vanderbilt, going on to win that ball game, 36-20. So I'm not exactly sure that those are, the greatest of all examples of why ODU can't win this football game. They take down the Cajuns. I'm going with ODU to cover this ball game. I'm not sure about the winning, but let's see what happens if Wake Forest can do it. I think it's a first thing in the morning. I do think it's the first thing in the morning. I'm sorry about the autoplay. I'm not sure why that's going on. I do think it is. It is a noon local time game. Wake is used to that. I don't know if Old Dominion is, but ACC teams play that all the time. So again, I think ODU can hang with Wake. They haven't been all that impressive just yet. All right. The other Power 5 ball game, and this is where I think we may get a victory. I'm not really sure why Georgia Southern is a 19.5-point underdog to Wisconsin. I don't know. I know they played the Citadel first week, beat UAB by double digits last week. Wisconsin hasn't looked all that impressive. Not yet, anyways. Got beat badly by Washington State. I know it's another Power 5 team, but I just don't think Georgia Southern is basically a 3-touchdown underdog to Wisconsin. And on the FanDuel line has them 19.5. Give me all those points, baby. And I'll probably put a little bit on the money line because it's going to be huge. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I should have done it beforehand. But, I got it right there. It's plus 680. Basically, you bet 100, you win 680. We could do that math. You bet 50, you're winning 340. And even if you bet 25, you're winning $170. That's what I'm saying. So I think you're going to get at least one upset. We did last week, right, with JMU taking down Virginia. Although we didn't get, that was not technically an upset. We got one Power 5 win. Sunbelt got one Power 5 win. Technically not an upset, and some of us may have lost money on that ball game. But we did pick the Dukes in that one with 6.5. They did win by 1, so they're happy. I'm not quite as happy as I would have liked to have been. But JMU did take down Virginia last week. And App State almost took down Carolina. That was a back-and-forth ball game. Carolina kind of choked it at the end, not connecting on a relatively short field goal, like 40 yards or so. Missed it twice technically. Well, unofficially, right? But they missed it right before because they called timeout and then missed it again when play was in. And it went to double overtime. And, App State had every shot at winning that football game. So I think we're going to get at least one win. When I say we, I mean the Sun Belt. I would be surprised if it's all three. I wouldn't be surprised. I am disappointed, and frankly, I'm sure you've noticed over the last couple of weeks the way South Alabama is playing. Now they're banged up. All right, now they have legit reasons, right? LaDainian Webb was banged up in the Tulane game, played a little bit last week. Devin Voisin's banged up. Braylon McReynolds is banged up. So those are reasons, not excuses. Those are reasons. If they weren't the starters, the other guys were the starters, then, there's a reason they're the starters, is what I'm saying. So would not be surprised. Let's see if South Alabama and Georgia Southern and ODU can do something. You'll find out quickly about the ODU thing because we'll see if Wake Forest can get beat, if they get beat over the top. ODU is faster than the Cajuns thought. We'll see how Wake Forest wants to play that. All right. We do have some really good not Power 5, but Group of 5 matchups going against each other, including, of course, the big showdown in the Sun Belt Conference. We will start with Troy and James Madison when we come back. Let me tell you, let's see where we are, about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We went over the Power 5 matchups in the Sunbelt. And I think we're going to get, again, Sunbelt, going to get at least one win, maybe more out of those matchups. All right, we do have this great, should have been the Sunbelt Championship ball game last year, Jase Madison and Troy. But again, that's stupid. Moving up to FBS from FCS rule prohibits Jase Madison for competing for a conference championship this year. It should be okay next year. And so this is Jase Madison championship ball game right here. They wanted it last year. They played Troy. They can't play him in the championship. Jase Madison was picked number 1 in the East. Troy was picked number 1 in the West. Here you go. Here's your shot. Thing is, what's going on with Troy? I do not know. They have given up a bunch of points. They've given up 72 points in 2 ball games. We can do that easily. That's 36 points a game. They gave up 30 points once, as we've mentioned over the last couple of weeks. They gave them up one time all year long last year. And that was on a App State Hail Mary. They only gave up 28 points to Ole Miss. Now they've given up 30 points to Stephen F. Austin. They gave up 42 points to K-State, Kansas State. And Jase Madison, meanwhile, is scoring 37 points a game. They scored 36 against Virginia, and they scored 38 against Bucknell. With a quarterback change in there as well. Jordan McLeod, now your starting quarterback. All right, he led them to a big lead, a 10-point lead, and then they fell behind by 11 twice, and he led them back to a victory, 36-35. I like Jase Madison in this game, and I'm not so sure it's going to be close. I will be pleasantly surprised if Troy's defense can come around. All right, somewhere along the way, we presume that's going to be the case. I may have thought that replacing, the old Carlton Marshall was a lot of people thought it was going to be easier than I did. And apparently it hasn't been, but somewhere along the way, I do think John Summerall will figure it out. I just don't think it's going to be against Jase Madison. They are too good. We'll see. This game, oddly enough, started out as Jase Madison -1. Now they're +2.5. So you're going to give me points and Jase Madison? I'll take Jase Madison. Plus, I think they're going to win the football game. All right. This one is up in the air, and I will give you a if, I guess. That's not the word I want to use, but Southern Miss hosting Tulane. Southern Miss 1-1, Tulane 1-1. I think we know more about Tulane than we do Southern Miss. Tulane's pretty good if Michael Pratt plays. Quarterback, 14-15, 4 touchdowns against the Jaguars. They're really good. They're average if the backup quarterback plays. Backup quarterback played against Ole Miss, got him out to a lead, couldn't sustain it in the second half. A game that was 27-20, got away from Tulane at the end to make the score a little lopsided. If Michael Pratt plays, I think Tulane hangs with Ole Miss. So if Michael Pratt does not play against Southern Miss not only will cover the 12.5 points, they're going to win the football game. Now, we don't know much about Southern Miss either, right? Because they played against Alcorn State, which they played pretty well, although they did kick a couple of short field goals. And they played Florida State, which Florida State may be the best team in the nation so far. They may be the best team in the country. So we won't take anything from that either. Although early on, I guess they played pretty well pass defense. So give me Southern Miss, baby, especially if Michael Pratt isn't playing. If Michael Pratt is playing, I'm subject to change. I won't bet on this ball game if Michael Pratt is playing. I do think if Michael Pratt is not playing, I will bet on the 12.5 and give me the Golden Eagles. All right. You do have App State, maybe in a little bit of a letdown game. It is still a state rivalry. East Carolina is going to be desperate. They're 0-2, losing to Marshall last week. Marshall's off, early off week for the Thundering Herd. They're off, so we're not going to forget about them, but they're just not playing this week. App State, 8.5 point favorite. They're 1-1, coming off the tough loss to North Carolina. Again, East Carolina 0-2, losing to Marshall and to Michigan. And again, if App State doesn't have a woes us type ball game, they should probably take care of East Carolina. All right, East Carolina's not bad, right? They actually covered against Michigan, and until Marshall got their act together in the fourth quarter, where they gave up 21 points, that was a ball game. So App State needs to be very careful with this one, but I think App State is going to take it and cover. This one, I don't know about either. Cajuns and UAB. All right, UAB's put up a lot of points. Defense isn't very good. Cajuns' defense was really good against Northwestern State. Offense was kind of hodgepodge, and the offense got better, although it didn't score as many points against ODU. And the defense was lost. I mean, the Cajuns' defense was lost. They made a stop at the end of the ball game to give their offense a chance, and boy, it would have been a great story. 2 90-yard drives to tie the ball game up and steal one in OT. They didn't quite get there, having the game end on the 7-yard line with Ben Wooldridge rolling left. A right-handed quarterback couldn't put enough on the throw. That's a tough play. Mike Desimo even agreed with that. I'm certainly going to be rooting for the Cajuns. I'm probably not going to put any money on that ball game. Although I may put money on the over. That's where it was. Like 55, 58 and a half. That's a lot of points, but that's 31-28, basically. UAB scored 30 points both games. Cajuns scored 30 both games. UAB's defense isn't very good, and we didn't see the Cajuns' defense very good last time out. So actually, I'm going to do the over, which was about 58 and a half. So in my show, Sports Chat on 103.3 The Goat here in Lafayette, I figured 59 points. So 31-28 plus with the spread, something along those lines. Math-wise, my understanding is that there would be no math. All right, one maybe under the radar, group of 5. Georgia State wants to be careful, 7.5-point favorite on the road taking on Charlotte. Georgia State did a really good job of not allowing Connecticut in that ball game. Maybe things have turned for the better for Sean Elliott. He made a wholesale changes following last season, especially with the strength and conditioning coach and the workout regimen. And so far, so good for Georgia State after working out the kinks, almost blowing a ball game to Rhode Island in week 1. So I do think the Panthers probably win and cover on the road. All right, we do have some FCS games to talk about when we come back. All basically must wins for the Sun Belt. They don't want to fall asleep on these matchups, mostly because there is, no reason to do so. All right, as we mentioned, we're taking all the betting lines from our partners at FanDuel that we're giving you. All right, this is about the NFL. Get ready for the NFL with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We talked about the 4 games against Power 5 teams. 3 have a chance to not only cover, but to win, and all the best to ULM going up against A&M. We got a big matchup, Troy and JMU, what should have been last year's Sunbelt Championship game. I think JMU is going to go in there with a ton of emotion and see what they can do against Troy, who hasn't figured things out just yet. And you got a big rivalry, the battle for the belt, Tulane and Southern Miss. And that's all going to depend on if David Pratt for Tulane plays. All right, meanwhile, these other ball games, we talked about it yesterday with Jeremy Harper. Arkansas State better not lose to Stony Brook. You just can't lose to Stony Brook. They have not played well so far. They're 0-2, losing to a couple FCS teams. They have to beat, Arkansas State has to beat Stony Brook. I'm a win and move on guy, but this needs to be a couple of score game. If it was 37-3, what it was last week with Memphis, Arkansas State on losing end of that would soothe some feelings in Jonesboro. Arkansas State better not fool around because they'll find out fast. You just can't be messing around with this. They need to take down Stony Brook to get their first win of the season. A touchdown would be nice. They haven't scored a touchdown in 2 ball games. Coastal Carolina taking on Duquesne. Coastal gets their win last week after coming close, covering against UCLA. Duquesne has a win in FCS, and they lost badly to West Virginia. So look for Coastal Carolina to do some damage there. By the way, these FCS, FBS school games, the lines will come out either later today, or on Saturday. So be aware if you are interested in putting some money down there. Texas State does have a little bit of a letdown coming off a TCU or Baylor win, a win over Baylor and a loss to UTSA. Don't sleep on Jackson State. They're 2-1. They've had an extra ball game. They're going to try and take you down. Texas State hasn't been winning it long enough or at all, for that fact of the matter, to be resting on their laurels. So they really need to do a good job of taking down Jackson State, because with Nevada coming in, I mean, again, we talked about this. They could have started out 4-0 with a win over UTSA. Texas State could start out 3-1, and then they're heading my way to Lafayette to, well, that may not be right. Hold on. There may be an extra ball game in there somewhere that I'm not aware of. Hold on. Hold the phone. Because the Cajuns have an extra ball game. Let's see here. They're at Southern Miss. In fact, so they get Southern Miss and the Cajuns back-to-back on the road. So really important for Texas State to start out 3-1, because they have a good opportunity. And then they're going to Hattiesburg and Lafayette for Sunbelt road games. So they need to take advantage of some winnable ball games at home. Let's put it that way. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate all the support. We could use some more subscriptions. Those have kind of slowed down a little bit. So please subscribe in YouTube. But those audio downloads have been phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. We set a record on Thursday. We'll see what we do here on Friday. But thank you so much. Obviously, some people have subscribed to it. Because that's a big help. The numbers are way up. Thank you so much. Enjoy the ball games. We'll have another special edition on over the weekend before Monday, and especially if some of these Sunbelt teams take down a Power 5, we'll do a quick recap. Probably have a show on Sunday anyways. All right, lots to do on Saturday. Tough to do it then, but definitely can have a show on Sunday. Please, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. I'm Dave Schultz, and you've been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.